as many as I can. There'll also be time at the end of the session for extra questions. So now to our panel. I'm delighted to welcome Deborah Bartlett, Chief Employability and Entrepreneurship Officer at Al Akabang University. We're also joined by Julio Jimenez, Principal Lecturer of English Language and Academic and Professional Literacies at the University of Westminster, and Roshana Casanova, Senior Lecturer in Marketing, Educational Lead for Marketing and Marketing Skills Expert at the University of Bristol. And finally, Abdulmonian Al-Mahdi, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at Dubai Medical College for Girls. To start, the panel would like to introduce themselves. If we start with Deborah, could you tell us a bit more about your background and your current role?
Thanks, Shakira. I am an American living in Morocco, North Africa, the Al-Hawain University. That means two brothers in Arabic. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but it's the dream of two kings who wanted to open up the American liberal arts system to Africans. Today we have three schools: business, humanities, engineering, and we're proud of our internationalization and that our students come from 57 countries and they go work around the world. But we're most proud when they stay in Morocco to stop the brain drain, which affects many of our countries. The second thing we're most proud of is our employability percent. We live in an economy that 40% of the graduates from universities have zero jobs, 40% unemployment. Yet our university has an 84% employment rate before graduation. 84% of our students have job offers. So I look forward to sharing some of the tips we found that work in our economy. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you. Julio, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hello. I'm going to follow Deborah's pattern of introduction. I'm an Argentinian living in London, and I'm a principal lecturer in academic and professional literacies, as Kira said, at SETI. That's the Centre for Education and Teaching Innovation at the University of Westminster. And my latest book, Teaching Skills and Competencies for the International Workplace, has recently been published by Routledge. And I'm very happy to be here. And I want to thank the audience for all the lovely messages that they're sending us. Thank you.
Roshana, would you like to go next?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. So my name is Dr. Roshana Hussainova. I'm Senior Lecturer in Marketing at University of Bristol Business School. The University of Bristol is really established Russell Group University here in the UK. And myself, I'm Education Lead for Marketing Consumption Group, very much passionate about marketing skills, generative artificial intelligence skills that we are trying and working hard in supporting our students in developing today.
Thank you. And Abdulmonian? Oh, sorry, you're on mute.
Thank you for inviting me. My name is Abdulmonian, an Arabic name. I'm from Sudan, living in Dubai. Actually, I am the Associate Dean Academic Affairs in Dubai Medical College for Girls, the oldest medical college in UAE, and in Dubai Medical University, which is the youngest university in Dubai. We were two colleges, Dubai Medical College for Girls and Dubai Pharmacy College for Girls. Now we have a nursing college, and now we are a new university. So I represent the university rather than the college, but I am from Dubai Medical College for Girls. How I relate to this topic? In fact, I am an anatomist. I graduated from the University of Khartoum with an MBBS. And then I did my anatomy degree, a PhD in anatomy in University of London. And then I drifted from anatomy to health professions, education, and e-learning. And this is why I'm very much interested in this topic. I worked a lot in it. In fact, I was the director of education in Al-Marif University. And in that university, we had a project identifying new 21st century skills that we need to identify as our common graduate attributes. And then when I moved to Dubai, I initiated the same project, and we actually developed a course entitled the 21st Century Skills course. This is how I relate to the topic. Thank you very much again for inviting me.
No problem at all. To start with as general a question as possible, how can we prepare students for the future when we don't know what the future's going to hold? Deborah, would you like to start us off on this one?
How do we prepare our students for a future that we don't know? And my quick answer is you connect them to that future as soon as you can and often as you can. What does that mean? That means when they're freshmen and sophomores, you do programs you see in America, you see in Europe, I'm not sure about our other continents, where they do alternance and co-op programs. So imagine you have a freshman student who starts, the first year student, and they go for 6 months, and then they go into the workplace, into industry, a logistics company, an e-commerce company, and they work for 3 or 4 months. They come back and do their academic program. Then they go back to work. In our experience, connecting our students into the industry that's changing faster than we are, we being academics, is it changes fast. You get your students there. This generation loves the gig economy. They are freelancers. So we connect them early and often, starting their first, second year. The second way we've done it is we have a program. Our university is remote. It is 4 hours from the major metropolis. And we have remote at AUI. AUI is the name of our university. And the students can freelance and gig economy work as entrepreneurs with companies, scientific reports, research analysis, even some basic outbound calls because of the English language in Morocco. So my answer is how do we prepare them is we connect them early and often.
Great, thank you. Julio, what would your perspective be on this question?
Yeah, thank you, Kira. Well, I remember that back in 2017, Dell estimated that half of the jobs that will exist in 2030, and we are 5 years away from that, haven't been invented yet. So how do we help students do these jobs that haven't been invented? And I think this will resonate with a lot of people in our audience, that the key thing is helping them develop a broader set of skills. Skills like creativity and active listening, emotional intelligence, and especially flexibility. And I can't emphasize flexibility enough. Flexibility to adapt to demands and trends. If there was one lesson that we learned from COVID-19 was that both virtual learning and remote working demand skills like flexibility, self-motivation, and technical skills. So I guess my message is, okay, we need to help our students embrace change, fuel their drive, and sharpen their skills.
Great, thank you. Roshana, what would your take be?
Yes, I really like these ideas that coming from Deborah's and Julio's take on this about connecting them with the gig economy and developing those soft skills. I think it's very, very important. Something I observe as a business educator here in the UK, there are two biggest themes that businesses and students alike and leaders of the future should actively engage in. One is developing sustainability literacy and sustainability intelligence, because if we observe the world around us, we all should have a really good, thorough understanding of sustainability issues, of the health of the planet. How can we help business leaders, marketers, and so on and so forth to contribute to regeneration of the planet? So sustainability literacy and sustainability intelligence is one of them. And the other one is, of course, generative artificial intelligence, Gen AI, and developing the skills, understanding, and literacy around that. And if you connect these two, for example, I find that many of my students are surprised when we talk about sustainability of the Gen AI applications. There is a huge cost associated with that. So I think if, in addition to connecting students to the industry, giving them opportunities to engage and partake in the gig economy, and developing those soft skills, I think helping them understand and develop those literacies and intelligences around sustainability and artificial intelligence will also help them to prepare.
Great, thank you. And Adam,
Thank you very much. In fact, when we designed our course, which we call the 21st century skills, although your question circulates around the unpredictability, so we exerted some effort to try to predict. Because without predicting what is it going to be, we will not be able to actually help our students develop the necessary skills for this unpredictable future. But when we studied the skills that might be needed, we focused on two of them. What they call the 4 C's of lifelong learning: the creativity, the collaboration, the communication, and all of that. And all of them require these literacy skills everybody is speaking about. I mean digital literacy skills. So we focus on certain skills, and then we should focus on adaptability rather than flexibility and resilience. So adaptability. So we train them on how they can actually be agile and shift from one profession to the other. We also need to orient them about these new flexible pathways, new alternative credentials, and these sort of learning environments they need to know about as early as they can, so that they become more adaptable and focus on adaptability rather than mere employability. Because as you mentioned, the speakers mentioned, maybe the jobs of the future will be totally different from the jobs we have now.
Oh, thank you. So just because we've touched on Gen AI briefly already, but I mean, that we all know it's sort of in its infancy now, but it's going to be shaping the future in ways we can't even tell. So Deborah, what would your perspective on that be when it comes to students?
Sure, for the students, and how do we embed AI literacy at this stage when I think everyone on this call is coming up to speed as well, because I don't think we're AI natives, we are AI learners. An approach we have taken at our university is on the 2 spectrums. One is based on what you hear from industry. AI is a core part of the work, and AI won't take away the jobs, but humans who know how to use AI will take away the jobs. That's a quote somebody else said that I'm attributing. So we teach the students how to use the AI, whether that's using the models, whether that's doing ways that stop the hallucinating, whether it's just the classic critical thinking, don't take what the AI says as fact, let's validate, and how do we do that validation? And then the huge ethical component, which I think this generation is going to be the powerful force in the ethics of AI. On the other end, we have employers who do not allow the use of AI, usually financial services institutions. At least in our sector of the world, they haven't figured out how to do it to protect customer privacy. So we're trying to equip our students on the whole range, from how to use it effectively to how to continue to be effective in spite of it and around you. One way we're doing that is really partnering with industry and having these joint programs, which are fun, guys. If you imagine you get a group of bankers who are scared of AI with a group of students who it's natural for them to be using ChatGPT and to be using Claude and to be using other programs, and you put them together in shared environments. It's a wonderful mix of industry with our students, pulling on the strength of our students with the strength of industry. But I think how we embed it is teach them how to work with it and almost unleash their creativity with how to work as well. My last piece is we sponsor monthly hackathons. That's the old term for a software, let's break into a system. But we sponsor them with AI, and a company comes with a problematic. How do I use AI to become a cashless society? How do I use AI to support visually impaired? And the students are unleashed for 72 hours to come up with solutions that meet industry's problematic using AI. And that's a wonderful way, again, to embed it and let the forces out there that are going faster than we are to harness into our universities.
Thank you, Julia. What would you say about embedding AI literacy in the classroom?
Yeah, thank you. I'm always looking at the workplace, and we all know Gen AI has arrived in the workplace, and people in sectors as diverse as consumer goods and retails, media and entertainment, manufacturing, are all using financial services, are all using AI. And this tendency is going to increase in 3 or 4 years. So what we need to do today is, as Deborah was saying, helping students use Gen AI to unlock their full potential in an ethical and transparent way. So let me give you an example from one of my modules. At Westminster, we have embraced Gen AI and worked with students to explore how we can use it responsibly. And it's connected to what Roshan was saying before. And on one of my modules, I asked my students to log on to their AI accounts, whatever tools they're using. Our latest research has showed students at Westminster use at least 16 different tools to help with their work. And it seems that, of course, ChatGPT is the favourite one. 85% of 500 students who completed the survey said that they're using ChatGPT. So while my students are logging in, I'm doing the same thing. I'm logging on to my ChatGPT account, and that is being shown on the university, on the classroom screens at the same time. So students have access to my history, how I engage with AI, and how critical I am. And sometimes ChatGPT likes changing the meaning of the original text, slightly adding references that are either irrelevant or don't exist. And so this gives me an opportunity to show them how critical we can be. And we discuss all this. We approach AI as a tool, another tool, and we have to hold a critical attitude towards it. And I'm confident that my students are learning how to use it in a critical and transparent way. And I suppose the bottom line here is, if we want to champion ethics and transparency, we educators have got to lead the way.
Shana, you touched on this briefly already, but would you like to elaborate on the use of Gen AI to help students develop their skills?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. A couple of things I wanted to add to what Deborah and Hugo already said. Something I practice in my own classroom is something I call curriculum infusion, but it's incorporating elements of Gen AI into teaching, into all the marketing practical activities we do. It's bringing it into the conversation around ethics, sustainability, marketing communication, and these kind of things. But what I think is most interesting is that at the moment at University of Bristol we're developing Gen AI course for staff and students, and we are actively engaging students. We're now at the moment recruiting students to co-create this course. And I think because we are, as Deborah said, AI learners as opposed to natives, and our students are more natives than us. So I think hearing and listening and getting their important contribution and getting them to design that course would be very, very helpful and meaningful for everyone. But going back to curriculum infusion, I think we as educators should have that open-mindedness, ability to learn and develop our own AI literacy as we go, because only if we are confident, we can then confidently teach students, we can then confidently bring AI into the conversation instead of saying, oh, it's completely off limits, we should make our assessment AI proof. If we are confident and have the skills as ourselves as educators, then we can help our students to become more confident, right? And I think by getting crystal clear as educators, we then pass on that knowledge to students. And of course, it's developing things like critical thinking. In AI sense, it is actually highlighting areas where AI is just not good. What Lily said is about hallucinations, providing references, highlighting how students can, sense make things. How can they spot check, fact check things? How can they use effective questioning, so-called prompting, in their conversations with AI? The latest research just yesterday that was conducted here at the University of Bristol, not yet published, so it's quite fresh off the press, actually demonstrated that students are becoming aware and almost scared of their own over-reliance on AI. I myself witnessed that in the classroom. I give students brainstorming activity and they use ChatGPT. And I said, no, you have to, generate ideas from yourself. And he said, no, it's too hard. So we are observing that as educators in classroom as well. I think highlighting that, okay, this is what's happening, until we have this magical button when you press the button and it loads all the necessary information onto our brain, we still have to use our own ways of consuming content by reading, by watching things, by listening podcasts. Only then that interaction with AI will be truly fruitful and productive.
Thank you. How do you use AI?
You probably know that UAE is leading in the field of AI, both as developers and as users. And we in the Medical University, we think we are also leading because we were the first institution to partner with OpenAI. So we partner with OpenAI, we subscribe to ChatGPT EU, and we actually integrated it into our environment, into our learning management system. And at the same time, we developed a training program for both faculty and students. And actually, we started using it intensively at the beginning. But as educators, you probably know that for any change, there is a resistance. And dealing with the resistance was a big issue. So we tried to convince them that it is for their favor, not against them. If they use it wisely and use it efficiently, it is in their favor. And this is why, but the problem is how to take on board both the teachers and the students at the same time, because it's a new environment, it's a new concept, it requires new skills, and so on. The other dimension of it is the ethics of using AI. We all agree it is still not quite agreed upon whether to use it or not. Since we introduced it into our environment, it means we approve that it is to be used. But how to use it ethically, not to use it to fool around doing your assignments. We need you to tell us how did you do it. So we needed to change our environment itself so that we don't accept submission. Because submissions, you give them an assignment, they will give it to ChatGPT, it will produce the assignment for them. So we wanted them to be transparent. And we actually trained them on how they can use it ethically. Instead of asking ChatGPT to do everything for them, they use it wisely in a way that they benefit from the experience itself. So we are actually experimenting. Thank you for mentioning the hackathon, Deborah, because we have something similar, but we call it an ideathon. And it is part of a course. One of my colleagues, she is actually leading the movement of the integration of AI in our university. She is also a medic, she is also an anatomist, but she has a master's degree in AI. So she is leading the project. She has a course, and in that course, actually the course is health technology and e-health. So she introduced this idea. So she wanted the students to come with ideas on how they can use AI to create something useful for the health profession. Because we don't have the luxury. It already creeped into the healthcare system. So we needed them to become creative and entrepreneurs, so they're starting to actually generate small applications that use AI to help in healthcare and so on, for diagnosis or for the interpretation or image recognition or whatever. Actually, we are not yet into courses related to medical practice yet, but we are in process. So we are already integrating the whole concept of AI in our environment.
Fascinating, thank you. So I did also want to ask about what soft skills students might need for the future, but there has been a question in the chat asking if it's now considered that the term soft skills might imply these skills are marginal and less important. Maybe we should say transferable or transversal skills instead. So Deborah, what do you think about transferable skills?
Thank you for asking. Yes, internally we call it tech skills, the technical skills, finance, software development, psychology. And the transversal or transferable will both work. We'll say transversal, meaning across any of a competency domain. And for the transversal skills, what we hear from our employers is among our universities in our region who we compete with, the degrees are kind of the same. And the content is kind of the same. What makes the difference is the transversal skills. And I usually look at those as the 4 domains of emotional intelligence. But the ability for self-control, the ability for self-awareness around you, the ability for the relationship management, and the social awareness of what's going on and how will you show empathy, show team building, show motivation when things are low. So those skills often come through with project-based learning, with experiential learning to develop them. Many of our employers ask for certain behaviors. We get technical about the difference in skills and behaviors and transversal. We have found it more difficult to affect behavior. That would be like risk-taking. That would be like the ability to show initiative. Those we have found are more difficult. We can groom it a little bit, but if the student doesn't have it coming in at 18, I think the research shows those are harder to develop versus the self-confidence, the public speaking skills, and the ability to work in a team with balance. So our employers are saying they want, and we do infuse that in our curriculum at various stages. But I like transversal skills. Thank you for the person who commented on it.
What do you think?
Yeah, well, again, as the person in the chat said, I've never been happy with the hard-soft dichotomy because actually that has led us to focus on hard skills, and it has created a kind of hierarchy between skills and actually. But luckily, I think now we are focusing much more on what I call social and emotional skills than before. And skills such as accepting multiple and different viewpoints, active listening, and emotional intelligence. Social skills emphasize the ability to communicate verbally and non-verbally in the workplace, and also to interact effectively with others in a social context. So I think the emphasis should be on effective communication, empathy and patience. Together with empathy and patience we have to emphasize compassion. That is being able to understand and respond to others with empathy and a desire to help. Together with that, active listening and emotional intelligence, let's say the ability to know yourself, understand yourself, so that you can understand others and respond in a very sort of connected and compassionate way. I think within the emotional skills, compassion is vital to a productive and positive workplace, one that fosters, relationships, employee well-being, and teams that are more productive and actually compassionate. And I think in the classroom, and I'm always connecting, going back to my own experience as a lecturer, case studies on compassion in the workplace provide an excellent opportunity for students to raise their awareness of the importance of compassion. One example of that is the manager offering flexible work arrangements to an employee who is struggling at the moment. To balance work and life commitment. So students, can see in this case study the elements of this social and emotional skills like active listening without judgment, empathy and understanding, and taking action to help. So they can also discuss, the manager's attitude and how this, dealing with the issue in a compassionate way, promote a positive and supportive work environment. So in a nutshell, I think social and emotional skills are all about navigating social situations and building up relationships that work. And these are skills that Deborah was saying before that employers are now looking after.
Shana, would you like to take this one?
Yes, thank you very much. I wanted to add a slightly different angle to what Deborah and Hugo said already. And my PhD is on sales motivation. So sales, I see that as a very important fundamental skill set. And I think as educators, if we sell, so to speak, the skill development, that will be very helpful to the students, because often we teach them, we help them develop those skills, but they may not be always aware of those. So one tactic I started using at the start of each teaching session, whether it's lecture but most likely seminar because it's a lot more hands-on, I say, well, today we're developing these skills. And sometimes I get them to share, how would you rate your skill of, let's say, creativity or communication or listening? And I say, well, what's harder, listening or talking? And, have a discussion. And ask them how to rate it. At the end, where we've done a number of activities, they worked in teams or pairs, or they worked on a presentation, so on and so forth, then I get them to rate that again. And I think for them, it just makes perfect sense. If I didn't do that, they may not necessarily be aware, okay, during the session, 2-hour session today, my skill of listening perhaps went from 3 to 4. And even that's a small incremental upgrade, but it is an upgrade in development. And interestingly, the well-being that Julia touched upon, yesterday again we had the education strategy committee meeting, and one of the things we were discussing is personal tutoring provision. And I said, look, during our personal tutor sessions with my personal tutors, we don't talk about how to write assignments or any academic advising that might be happening. Instead, we talk about those soft skills of well-being, productivity, how do I stay on top of things, motivation, and perhaps again from educators' point of view, emphasizing, concentrating in the one-to-one interaction on those skills. Sometimes it's all that matters, so it's little, small kind of mini tactics.
Thank you. Adelia, what's your take on transferable skills?
Thank you very much for the three speakers. We already covered a lot about the social and communication skills. Actually, social skills and communication skills are part and parcel. We are already part and parcel of our medical program because they are essential. I mean, without communication, without especially interpersonal communication, and without the empathy aspect of it, and interprofessional collaboration. So all these skills are actually essential for the medical practitioners. But they gained more because of globalization, and by the way, we live in a cosmopolitan community in UAE. So being an ethical and a global citizen, this needs to be emphasized. Also the concept of social accountability, these are issues that were already there, but they need to be further emphasized because of the new development in the healthcare system. Now, I must add that the digital literacy skills are now taking over, and they are overwhelming because in healthcare, electronic tools and digital tools are sweeping the healthcare system. So we also need to focus on these digital literacy skills in addition to the social literacy skills and the interpersonal communication skills.
Okay, thank you. We've had a really interesting question in the Q&A about transferable skills. How do students present them on a resume or a cover letter to show that they have them? And I think it kind of plays into this idea that what can students do to show employers they have these skills? So Deborah, what would you think of that question?
I love the question. For me, a CV, a resume, doesn't get the student a job and may not even get them an interview. It can stop them from getting a job and stop them from getting an interview, but it usually doesn't get them in. The way an employer would look at your CV or resume would start with seeing the experience you've had. The experience can be third-party employment, on-campus employment, or a project that had some sort of connection to the exterior, not just an internal database management project. It's got to be something that connects with industry. And in that two-line syllabus summary, you would have to say demonstrated time management, demonstrated crucial conversation skills. You find those key words. But the second most important way our students can demonstrate this is during the first interview. The first face-to-face, it's sometimes called a screening interview, sometimes a motivational interview, and the student has to quickly be able to connect what they've done to the company with an example that demonstrates, again, their team spirit, their team effectiveness, if that's the transversal skill. They're working through a high-challenge critical thinking situation. So I strongly recommend mock interviewing skills and many online tools. And the students need to practice the mock interviewing. They can watch it and say, yeah, I can do that. But it's like public speaking. Until you actually stand up and do it, you don't. So that's my suggestion, is a few keywords in the CV, but more importantly in the first interview.
Okay, great, thank you. I just also want to touch on interdisciplinarity and how that can prepare students for the workplace. Julio, do you have any thoughts on interdisciplinarity in the classroom?
I think it's very important to make students work with students from different disciplines. You know, if you think of the workplace, engineers don't work with engineers only. They work with people from other departments, from management, marketing. And that is the reality of the workplace. We interact with lots of people. So if we create that situation where students work in interdisciplinary projects with students from other disciplines, then we are helping them develop these skills, which are social and emotional skills that actually will help them create this kind of awareness and be prepared for the reality of the workplace.
Roshana, do you have any thoughts on interdisciplinarity?
Yes, thank you, Kira. So we are currently in a big project at University of Bristol developing several interdisciplinary programs because, as you said, we recognize that, like Julio said, indeed it doesn't only need engineering hard skills, it's always very, very much intertwined with soft skills. So our take on this is that interdisciplinary programs should have at least 2 different schools involved. And I emphasize the different schools, like for example in marketing we could have consumer psychologists who are coming from psychological background, but that's not sufficient to be truly interdisciplinary. So it could be engineering with the business school or medical science with the business school. And indeed the program is tailored to suit both people from the business background and engineering background. An important thing here, in my view, is to be able to adapt the language so that both engineers and business people from business background can understand. And I think that language is very, very important, and making sure that it's open and understandable for everyone. And indeed, that will help bridge the gaps. And then, for example, if engineers want to develop their career, if they want to tap into, something like chief technology officer or something, chief engineering officer, something like that, then we'll have those transferable skills of leadership, communication, and so on and so forth developed already. I think that's probably part of the future of education, being interdisciplinary.
Yeah, cool. Abdurrahman, do you have an opinion on interdisciplinarity?
Yes, as I told you earlier, we are a new university, but you have 3 colleges. College of Medicine, College of Nursing, and College of Pharmacy. And interprofessional collaboration is very important, is essential. So the minute we actually got the approval of a university, we started working on an interprofessional education program. in which we bring the students from the three disciplines, from the three professions in the future, to learn with each other, to learn about each other, and to learn how to work with each other. So this is the essence of our interprofessional program, and it actually is working wonders. It actually brought us as educators from the different colleges closer to each other. We started collaborating more with each other, and it is not benefiting only the students, it is even benefiting us as educators and as an institute. So we really believe that this is very important, this interdisciplinary.
Yeah, thank you. I also wanted to talk about sort of outside the classroom, what students, can do to appeal to employers. So Deborah, that is your area of expertise. Would you like to talk about that?
Work early and work often. They need to work early and work often. And I do believe in social programs and social entrepreneurship, and that is excellent. But at our place, people redo the same things over and over. It's like paint the same wall at the orphanage over and over. No, you got to get beyond the CSR, the corporate social responsibility, into the actual tasks. And I'd like to migrate this to two terms I haven't heard us say yet, but it's how students can be attractive, is the entrepreneurial mindset. Entrepreneurial mindset. Our office is the Office of Employability and Entrepreneurship. Many of our organizations, I think, many of our universities think those are two different tracks. And the president and I decided it needed to be one track for our students to discover their futures in the 4 years we have them. And futures is plural. Discover your futures. So we put them together. And what we've discovered is students may be classic, start a little business in the summers, on the side, freelance gig, and they may launch a business after campus, after graduation, which is good. We need to create jobs to improve lives in Morocco. However, what we've discovered more is industry seeks the entrepreneurial mindset, the initiative, the ownership, the responsibility, the thinking through multiple facets. And I'll tell you a quick story. A multinational called Doxer Logistics. It's German. It operates in Europe, Africa, and Asia. It only seeks our students from our entrepreneurial programs. They don't hire them to be entrepreneurs. They hire them to be logistics, operations, finance. But they want the mindset that says, I'm responsible, I'll take risks, this will be like it's my business. So I think students doing entrepreneurial ventures, whatever that looks like, they start it, they support it, they do the marketing for their buddy who's trying to sell clothes. Whatever pieces of that are very attractive to future employers.
Amazing, thank you. I do also want to touch on assessment and how sort of these transferable skills and the AI skills can be assessed to make the students ready for the workplace. So is authentic assessment the answer there? Julio, would you like to say that one?
Yes, certainly. I think we need to change the way we assess knowledge and we assess skills. We need to move away from the traditional models like, write argumentative essay on X. These types of assessment practices actually are so distinct from what happens, so removed from what actually happens in the workplace, and does not help students with the skills that they need for the workplace. And don't take me wrong, I'm not saying that knowing how to use the English language is not a good skill, but actually how, I always ask the question, how does an argumentative essay help students transition from university into the workplace? So these are the type of questions that we have to ask, and so that we can have a more authentic perspective, look at the workplace, what are the skills that are being used and required by industry, and then incorporate those into the curriculum.
Roshana, do you have a take on that one as well?
Yes, we also talk about authentic assessment that's designed for all. And in my work as external examiner, I observed that some universities decide to go back to pen and paper in-person exams to assess some of their programs and modules. and some even consider trialing oral exams. That kind of has a double purpose, being AI proof, so to speak, and then also developing the communication skills, presentation skills. Then, of course, that takes us into the design for all aspects. That is it designed for all? What about our international students who may not have the fullest confidence and proficiency in English language, like English native speakers, for example? And I think one thing is we should be more moving towards AI enabled, certainly in the disciplines, in most business disciplines where it makes sense. I was really impressed. So last year I was really fortunate enough to be able to go to Australia New Zealand Marketing Academy Conference. And my impression was that in Australia New Zealand they are so much more ahead of Europe, certainly, in how they embrace AI. The policy has been in place for at least a couple of years now. And they have the flexibility to design the assessment. So an example would be you submit pretty much a conversation with, let's say, for example, ChatGPT as the most popular one, on producing a marketing or business strategy report. And you cannot, it is pretty much AI proof, but it's AI enabled at the same time. And so there are so many other things we can do. But what I'm really mindful of is to say to both educators and students, oh, it's AI is off limits. You can't deny it in a way. And one thing that Hulu said about English language, one of the colleagues just mentioned recently, we used to comment, your English and punctuation grammar isn't up to scratch. But now he says that he's really excited to see imperfect English punctuation and grammar because it's a real sign that it was written by a real human being. So we're really into this interesting and exciting era, and just by looking at Time Higher Education campus publications, there are close to 100 publications written by academics. There's a lot more, I'm happy to see, there's a lot more excitement rather than, oh my god, this is just really scary. And it is, of course. But only if we stay open-minded, we can start exploring ways of incorporating elements of AI into the assessment that is both enabled and hopefully AI-proof in the way we want.
Great, thank you. So I've just been looking through the Q&A, and there is one question. What is the best model for teaching undergraduate and medical students to enhance their future work? I don't really know, I feel like that one's made for you. If you take that one.
This is not an easy question to answer because the previous speakers spoke about authentic assessment. Now, to be able to assess authentically, you need to be able to clearly define what sort of knowledge, skills, and attitudes are you trying to assess. So, at the moment, medical education and the medical profession are moving very fast, changing very fast. What are the skills that the practitioners need are changing very fast. I mean, they no longer need to be able to identify abnormalities in image in radiographs. They are helped through technology. So when I assess them, do they need to acquire these skills? I actually attended the conference, and in that conference there was a paper about do doctors still need to percuss the chest? Do they need to do percussion? The physical examination skills themselves, some of them are disappearing, are no longer needed. So we need to look at, to redefine what sort of skills a medical practitioner needs. Not now, the beginning of this webinar started preparing our students for an unpredictable future. So unpredictable future means what sort of skills do you need to be able to be a good medical practitioner. So we need to work very, very hard on trying to identify this change on the mosaic of skills a medical or a health professional practitioner needs in the workplace. So we need to follow very carefully what is happening in the workplace, in the medical industry, and identify the sort of skills that the graduates need and focus on them. And currently, this is changing very fast. We are losing our breath trying to catch up with this new development.
Thank you. So just to go back into the Q&A for a second, there's also been a question from someone who works with a lot of neurodiverse students within creative industries who really struggle with the concepts such as emotional intelligence and social skills. So what would the panel think of that? Julia, would you like to, do you have any experience with it?
Yeah, I think one of the problems of education is that we impart knowledge and we tell students what they need to do instead of helping them experience certain aspects, like saying, as Shannon was saying, okay, how do you feel about things? How do you see yourself and how can you rate yourself in these skills? And I think that is important. A good starting point is not telling students what they need to do and feel, but asking them how they are and how they relate to certain topics like creativity. That's my question.
Great. There's also been a question about what the panel thoughts on the topics in the context of postgraduate students rather than graduate students. Does it change? Does anyone want to take that question? Sorry, looking at the same topics from the view of a postgraduate student rather than a sort of a new graduate. Deborah, would you have any thoughts on that?
Sure. So postgraduate is becoming a master's PhD, or they've been in the workplace for a while?
Yeah, postgrad, yeah.
The master's PhD, it's really very similarly relevant, and I would hope they've had more time to partner with industry to make sure their additional research is relevant to the employers. And what we found is almost a higher hunger or desperation by the students, because if they're going through the terminal degrees of PhD, they could be teaching, and that welcomes a wonderful academic world, but if they've chosen to go clinical or more applied, then they need to be connected with industry. So I don't see a big difference other than transitioning, which one person brought up in the questions. We put a lot of effort on transitioning our students. We have required classes the students take that work on hard, don't use that term, work on technical skills, like mock interviewing, case interviewing, which is a very challenging, difficult approach that is natural to some of our students and not natural to most of them. So we offer those in addition to the pairing, the matching, the site, the hackathons. That's all part of a 4 to 6 month transitioning experience. It starts with the students. Who am I? What do I want to be? And this is almost a separation from their family. Not keeping the family values, but not doing just daddy wants me to be the accountant, the engineer, the lawyer, the doctor. What do I want to be? And oftentimes postgraduates have already worked through that. Some, they did a certain degree for the family, and then they added on the degree for them. So they're a little easier on the who am I and where do I want to go. But we have 2 tools I recommend for everybody. Stanford started them called Design Your Futures, and it starts with kind of Ikagi. We've all done that through the purpose Venn diagram. Who am I? What can I do? What will the world need? And what can I be paid to do? And you find intersections there. That's excellent whether you're 18 or 28. And then you shift them to Odyssey planning, an odd name. It means the Greek Odyssey exploration. I call it 3 life plans. And you do your first life plan, and everything goes like this. Okay, I'm going to be a PhD, and I'm going to be a lecturer or a professor at Brighton. Okay, great. What's plan B? What if you don't get that position? What if your visa is not renewed, etc.? And then plan C, which is the most fun. Plan C. If money, reputation, parents didn't matter, what would you do? What would you be? And if you kids work through that, especially those postgraduates, it opens up the opportunities. They see multiple futures. So is there a difference? Yes, but some of the tools are the same.
Great, thank you so much. I think we've got time for one more question. Wait a second. Okay, well, I'm starting with AI. Let's end with AI. Would the panelists have any advice about AI enhanced pedagogy for higher education teachers? Roshana, do you have any ideas about that?
Yes, that's a big topic, and Luckily,
up in 2 minutes.
yes, absolutely. Luckily, we've seen a lot of publication research in terms of AI pedagogy. One thing I've mentioned already is curriculum infusion, where you infuse your curriculum with elements of AI. Whatever topic you're covering, I mean, business discipline is kind of prone to this naturally. Not sure about other disciplines, but you input other activities or mention of it, or some rules or ethical considerations into existing curriculum. That's one thing I'm thinking. AI ethics is another one, so developing that understanding that each time actually you ask something from ChatGPT, like what's the weather today, it actually costs the planet. A lot of students don't really realize that. And another thing is maybe giving them permission to use AI in assessment or in the unit in a certain way, and be really clear about this. So for example, I say in the marketing report they submit, you're allowed to use AI tool, you have to reference it to create 2 visuals. One specific visual for customer avatar, for persona, and another visual is prototype of your product. So by giving that permission and really defining the scope, students feel really reassured and really excited actually.
Thank you so much. I think that's such a lovely note to end on. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone who joined today, and especially everyone who asked a question in the Q&A. And thank you to the panel for such an interesting and enlightening discussion. We've covered so much ground. If you'd like more advice, helpful tips, and discussion on every aspect of higher education, remember to visit campus@timeshighereducation.com/campus. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have lovely days.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.